All right, folks, our guest today is Ashley Hunter, wife of Dr. Glenn Hunter. We heard his conversion story last month. So today we're going to hear her side of the story. So, Ashley, thanks for joining us and being willing to share your journey.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, let's start in the same place that we started Glenn's conversation in. What was your religious upbringing like growing up?
Okay, so my parents they started out both non-practicing Catholic. My mother's from Venezuela, and my dad he's from New Mexico, and so their parents were both very strong Catholics, but didn't know why Catholic. Um,
Hmm.
and so they met, and then my mother emigrated to the United States, and they had me, and just a few years, I think when I was about 3 or 4, after my mother emigrated, she became one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And so I was split Jehovah's Witness and sort of
Mm,
a Catholic with my dad.
okay. All right. So your story is a little bit different than Glenn's because Glenn's parents weren't Catholic, right?
No, no, they weren't. I think his mother was atheist or something like that. Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay. And how old were you when one of your parents converted into Jehovah's Witness?
So I was 4
Okay.
when she started with them. Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. So then, growing up, then what were your religious practices like in the home? Did you go to mass sometimes? Jehovah's Witness sometimes? What was that dynamic?
It was very interesting.
Yes.
So my dad, he never really went to mass on his own or anything like that. He just knew that, okay, I need to, kind of bring my daughter in with something. My mom's like, hey, I found this way. This is great. My dad says
Yeah.
no, and so
Okay.
it was kind of like that. But I mainly grew up going around with my mother, and going to meetings with her and going door to door with her.
Oh,
And
okay. So you
yeah.
were knocking on doors as a Jehovah's Witness. From what age were you doing that?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, probably since I was 4. They start you out with
Wow.
them, and then sometimes you'll read a Bible scripture to the person at the door, and
Oh,
then
okay. So you're like
yeah,
the intro. You're like the
yeah,
introduction.
yes, yes. Well, I was very, I got baptized in there,
Okay.
grew up with that and everything, and it wasn't until I was 19 then, but we'll get there.
Yeah. All right. So you're pretty much practicing the Jehovah's Witness faith then as you were growing up.
Mhm.
But did your dad bring you to try to prepare you for any of the sacraments, or he was just kind of the Catholic Church was just somewhere over there during all this?
Yeah, so with my dad, when I was 6 years old, he told me, he said, look, I want you to take catechism classes, and you take 1 year of catechism,
Mhm.
and if you like it, great. If not, I will never ask you this ever again.
Gave you that
And
freedom.
yeah,
How old
yeah,
were you again? 16?
I was 6. I was 6 years old.
6. All
Yeah.
right.
So this would have been for your first Holy Communion. And then it was like catechism, it was just the first year of that. And that was very tumultuous in my household, because my mom was of the belief that you walk in there, the wherever place that we had the catechism, and you're walking right into Satan's hands.
Mhm.
And so she would pray for protection for me, and I was very scared every time.
Let me tell you a funny story is, I believe it's in Scott Hahn's own journey.
Hmm.
The people that were his sponsors coming into the faith, their last names were Wolf. So wolves let him into the Catholic Church. God has a sense of humor sometimes, right? Because he used to think, the Pope was terrible and the church was just the worst before he converted. So you had that 1 year. So then, what were kind of like your feelings about the Catholic Church then, as you were growing up, having experienced a little bit of catechism class?
Oh, I was scared. Well,
Yeah,
I was first scared of the Catholic Church,
yeah.
but then when I went to the catechism classes, we went in, we did a coloring page, and then we went straight to snack time. And so the only things that we learned were the sign of the cross, the
Yeah,
Hail Mary, and the Our Father.
yeah.
And so I would ask questions, and just be like, oh wait, well, I'm here, I have to be here. When I just ask questions, and so the catechism lady, she'd just be like, just sit and eat your snack. Stop asking me
Wow.
questions. And so I was like, I would go back to my mom and I had said, well, not only is it super scary, but they don't really know what they're talking about of what they're teaching anyway. So
Hmm.
I even, touch the Catholic Church if that's
Yeah.
the. So of course I never went back a second year.
Well, I think it's a lesson for anyone involved in anything with children in the church is not to take it lightly, that kids come with real questions. So, even if they're as young as 5 or 6, take it seriously. Your role as a catechist or whatever you're doing, take it very seriously because those first impressions happen because it was your bad experience at age 6 that you said, not interested. And only by God's grace did you revisit it because for many folks, they might not be open to it again.
Yes, that's very, very true. And yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
So then as you were, getting older, did you get more deeper into Jehovah's Witness or did you explore any other denominations or faith
Oh,
traditions?
so you're not allowed to as a
Right.
Jehovah's
Right.
Witness. And so I did get deeper in Jehovah's Witness, but the Catholic Church was always kind of calling out to me, So first it was a catechism class. And then I remember one day, and I'll never forget this, and now I kind of know why, but at the time I didn't. I was going door to door,
Hmm.
and I was ready with my Bible, my presentation, and there was this man that came up. Usually, so this is in El Paso. Most houses they'll have a little sign on their door that says "Somos Católicos" or "We're Catholic,"
Okay.
or "Please do not give any literature," whatever signs that they have, and usually with a picture of the Virgin Mary. And so those are the houses that you approach, and you're like, okay, I know exactly what to do. You don't give them any literature. You just go straight to the Bible. You have your game plan. So I had my game plan there in my Bible, and I was going to talk to this man. And I started out with my presentation very cordially. And he looks at me and he says, "Mija, I'm not interested, but I just want to let you know that I'm praying for you. And I hope that one day you will see the light," or whatever he said. I hope the Lord
Wow.
will call you and all this stuff. And I'm standing there saying, yeah, weird. Okay.
You weirdo. I didn't want
Yeah.
you to pray for me.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You're
Like,
Catholic. Where are your snacks?
yeah. I was sitting there being like, okay, no, I should pray for you, so that you're saved, type of thing. And I
Oh,
don't
you're
know
going to pray for me? No, I'm going to pray for you. Pair battle.
exactly. Well, it's
Yeah,
prayer, right?
that's right. Hey, it's going somewhere. It's going in a
Yeah,
good direction.
yeah, but I mean, it's just little moments like that, and I remember talking over with the elders at that point, and they said, yeah, you just let that go and everything. But I never forgot that. It.
Wow. What another, lesson from your journey is Catholics, don't be afraid to answer the door. Don't be afraid to have those conversations, but just, yeah, you never know what seeds you're planting. How old were you when that happened?
Oh, I must have been like 12 or 13.
Okay.
Already getting in my teens, but I wasn't quite. Yeah, I didn't
So-
get back until I was 16, so it was a little bit before that.
Okay. So that's in the back of your mind. Then what was the next thing that made you think about the Catholic faith again?
So when I was in middle school, I loved choir, and that was my thing, of course, music. And so, I was a really great singer. My teacher she really took me under her wing, and she wanted to see me. I said I want to become a music teacher, and she took me everywhere. I mean, she really did, love on me a lot. And one of the songs that she gave to me was a very challenging song because she knew I can hack it, and it was an Ave Maria. It was a
I was gonna guess if it was because the Ave Maria is just so pretty. I'm a big Michael Bublé fan. He even has a beautiful version of the Ave Maria. I mean, I think that Catholic or non-Catholic alike, everybody knows there's something about that song. Well, it's you're praying the Hail Mary, everybody. You might not know that, but you're actually praying the Hail Mary as you go. So sorry.
Yes, yes, no, exactly. And I, of course, I learned the song. I didn't tell my mom. I learned this because it was just so beautiful.
It's such a pretty song. It's
And
so
and it
pretty.
it fit my voice so well, and it was challenging. And of course, as a kid, you love that
Yeah.
challenge. And so I went, and my mom found out, and so
Ooh, she found out you prayed
yeah,
the aunt. That is
yeah.
funny. Okay.
She's like, "You cannot do this song. I'm sorry, I will not let you do this song." And so I was like, "Okay, all right." And I
Now
told
your choir teacher, she wasn't Catholic, was she? She just gave you that song?
Yeah, yeah, because it was a challenge, and it was
Yeah.
something right with my voice. As
Yeah.
a good teacher, she did that and for me, and it was a good call. And so I said, no, let me do another song. And so she gave me another song that was totally lame.
I was gonna get. Did she give you maybe your backup plan was "I am the bread of life" maybe or "Pan de Vida"? No, no, that'd have been great. So she gave you just some generic song and
Yeah, it was a generic song. It was like I think it was in English. It was just some love song or whatever. And I ended up doing well in the competition anyway. But it was a lot of the music stuff that
yeah.
really I loved it.
So even though you weren't allowed to sing that song, did you sometimes find yourself humming it or just something an attraction to the Ave Maria? Yeah,
Oh yes. Oh,
yeah.
I got in trouble so many times with music.
Got in trouble for singing that Ave Maria. That's the first time I've ever heard someone getting in trouble for singing the Ave Maria. It's like backwards Catholic guilt or something. So
Yeah, yeah. Oh, Ave Maria Christmas songs. I got in trouble for saying that
hey,
songs.
I tell you what, the best Christmas songs are very Catholic, but also I would even say some of the Protestant songs out there, they don't realize how Catholic some of them are. Like Casting Crowns. If I ever meet their lead singer, I just want to tell them, you just sound so Catholic in some of the things that you say,
Yeah.
So so music. Okay, so this was in middle school.
Yeah.
Then what was next? Because I'm wondering when we meet a certain gentleman when he comes into the story about this whole Catholic thing. What was next after that?
Then it was college. So I got baptized when I was 16, and I'm like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. But my dad he always told
You
me
were baptized into Jehovah's Witness at
Jehovah's
16?
Witness, yes.
Is that when they usually do it as an adult?
Yes. Oh, I totally forgot to tell you, I was baptized Catholic as a baby.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So that sacramental grace was in your soul all along. So it's not surprising to me that there's these pricks. We just for just reviewing the rules of discernment by Saint Ignatius of Loyola, and he says that basically one of the rules is when someone's going on a path opposed to God's will, there's going to be a pricking to bring them back to the other path. Now you weren't like you were obviously trying to follow God and what you thought was His will, but I'm not surprised that because of that sacramental grace within you, that's like that guy at the door, the Ave Maria. It's like, psst.
Yes, no, and obviously I didn't see that until now,
Yeah.
but it was always there, and I never thought anything about my baptism. I have pictures of it. I would see pictures of it. My mom would be like, yeah, I didn't know what I was doing. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, but I have the pictures of my little lamb that I had as a gift, but anyway, yeah, it was great. But I had a cute dress too. But anyway.
Well, hey, the Catholics have snacks and cool gifts at your baptism too. Okay, so that's
Yes. But and so I had to be baptized as Jehovah's Witness, and that's usually when you have to make the decision. As any time in your teens typically is when it happens, but it can happen at any time when you feel like, okay, this is the thing for me.
Yeah.
So I decided, hey, this is a thing for me. This is what it's going to be. But my dad was always pushing me to go to college. He said, "You're going to go to college. That's it." So he saved up since I was in kindergarten, and so I knew that. So when I got later into my teens, there was one more time, and this wasn't exactly Roman Catholic, it was Orthodox, but it was a mission trip. They don't call it a mission trip, but it's like what we would say a mission trip to Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going, and we were supposed to preach to people in English there. And I remember walking into Kiev from the train station, and I remember seeing the big domes of the churches there. Of course, again, it's not Roman Catholic; it's Orthodox, but they're very, very Catholic over there. And I remember seeing the big, beautiful buildings.
Yeah, you can't
and
even.
Yeah, and just everywhere, even in the smallest villages, there's a big, beautiful building with a
You're
dome.
like, this is bigger than it just when you encounter that Catholic or even Orthodox architecture, iconography from the Orthodox Church or the liturgies from the Catholic and Orthodox Church, at least for me, it was like, all right, this is bigger than my own little version of Christianity I've developed when I was going through my seeking phase. Like I'm like a babe trying to understand all this and look at all this.
Yeah.
Look at all this.
It draws you. It's beauty, and it draws you. And of course, it drawed me. It sorry, not draw. It drew me. Um,
Hmm.
very attracted to that. But of course, we weren't allowed to go inside or anything like that. And so,
Oh man, then you would have the incense and all that. It would have. Well, it's another important thing from your story is the importance of uh, evangelization through art and music and architecture. Architecture is really important. The way that churches are designed, there's a reason behind it. I know that you and your husband put together that awesome video about the Cathedral of Our Lady of Victory. That thing is incredible if folks haven't seen it. But just walking through, there's lots of really neat elements in the cathedral that you have to pay attention to. But the powerful evangelization moment. So that's why we should have beautiful churches that point us towards something greater than the here and now.
indeed, indeed, yeah, it's very powerful.
So that happened. Okay, and then you get to college,
Yeah.
and what's going on in college?
Okay, so I that was kind of like my conversion back into mainstream Christianity. So
Okay.
I went to college, and I of course started going to the Jehovah's Witness meetings there, and I just it felt so empty, and I remember looking at myself in the mirror and thinking, I don't like this person. It was very fake to me.
Mm,
I didn't like what I was doing. Oh, because I was kind of doing the witness thing, and I didn't really believe it. There were a lot of things that I had issues with theologically. And then, of course, in the college party scene at UT, so I was going, I mean, I wasn't a really big party person. I've never been that way, but I was hanging out with these people, and I'd go out here, and it was like it was this being pulled in so many different directions that I had to stop and look at myself and say, I don't like who I'm seeing. And I remember praying to God in front of my bathroom mirror with my dog right there, like howling because I'm yelling at the mirror, and just saying, whoever you are, please show yourself to me.
so
And
I said a very similar prayer myself when I was coming back into first to Christ and Christianity, then eventually to Catholicism. But those real honest prayers are the best prayers. That's the beginning of the return. That it just seems whenever people are at that point and they just really in all earnest cry out to God, that's when he really starts to reveal himself. So what happened after that moment?
that's when I met my husband. That's when I
And then comes Glenn.
yes.
How did you guys meet?
So we had already been kind of acquainted with each other before. We were both in the same choir,
Yeah.
and I had been talking to other of his organist friends in his little circle.
His organist crew, the organist gang.
The organist gang. I had no idea what an organ was. I had no idea what sacred music was,
Oh man.
nothing like that. And so, but I did, see this guy. He was tall, he was good looking. And so I asked around about him. He said, yeah, man, he's really good. He's from Oberlin, but he's originally from Canada. And I was like, Canada?
Whoa, he's exotic.
Oh, of course. Yeah. and so I was like, okay.
An exotic Canadian.
Yeah. and and so turns out, the director that I had that year, she said that we're gonna put you in groups. And I had spent a year with her already. This was my sophomore year in college. And so she had me be a leader of one of the groups, and he was in my group.
Mhm.
So I got stuck with all the master students, I guess, because I already knew them. She knew that, and so we got together one time at Taco Cabana with the group, and he was sitting there, having a beer, and because he's older, older guy.
Mhm.
We're having this really nice conversation, and then later that evening, he says, "Well, hey, I've got 2 tickets to the football game tomorrow. Do you want to come?" And I said, "Oh, oh, sure, why not? That'd be fun." And so I go home, and the next day, I call my dad and my best friend. I'm like, "This guy asked me out. Oh my goodness!" And turns out I was late to the football game, really, really late because I didn't know what time it was to start.
Oh wow.
So Glenn thought I stood him up.
Oh man.
It's one of those crazy things, and then we ended up having a date anyway, and then so the next day, he went to his church job, and I wasn't going anywhere at the time, but afterwards he came and he took me out to dinner at a really fancy restaurant downtown Austin, and so I was very very impressed. He was trying to put on a little show.
Yeah.
Took me to this fancy restaurant. They had mouthwash in the bathroom.
Whoa.
Yeah,
That's how you know it's next level.
this is
Glenn asked someone to put that in there to like
yeah.
impress you.
Yeah. Oh, but yeah. So we just kind of we hit it off, and I started seeing him, and then he started taking me to where he worked which was at the Methodist Church.
Mm-hmm.
And the great thing about befriending a bunch of organists is that they work in different churches.
Yeah,
And
that's really
so
neat.
I had two friends who were Catholic, and there was one that was at a Presbyterian, one that was over here Lutheran, and Glenn was at the Methodist Church. One thing that really kind of stood out to me were the two friends that we had that were Catholic. They worked at Catholic churches and they were practicing. That's not something that you would typically see. Typically, if you're an organist, you go where the job is, you
Right.
know. And then if you happen to find something that you're, theologically drawn to, well, that's kind of a bonus.
Mm-hmm.
But for these two, it was, kind of Catholic or bust, basically.
Wow.
Yeah, and I thought that was really
Well, you had these different witnesses throughout your journey because you had the gentleman who was just living his faith and prayed for you, and then you have this interaction with these organists that are just being Catholic. So our day-to-day witness matters. We think like we're only impacting people at an event or something or whatever, but no, it's these little things that we don't even know what someone's noticing. So so you're hanging out with Glenn, and then so as you guys were dating and engaged, were you guys thinking about the Catholic faith at that point at all?
well, no. I not specifically. I was just trying to, kind of make my way through Christianity. So again, with the different organist friends, we went to Lutheran services, we went to different things. I was very hesitant to actually go to a Catholic service until one of my friends, he says, "Hey, I'm gonna go because he would go to mass, noon mass every day."
Hmm.
And that to me was, very, because being a witness, you go to several meetings throughout the week. And that's a lot. It was like Tuesday nights you're there for 2 hours, Thursday nights you're there for 2 hours, Sunday you're there for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And that's not counting door to door and everything. And so he went to mass every day out of his own will. That's what he wanted to do. And so I was like, wow, okay, that's very interesting. And so he said, hey, come with me to a noonday mass. It's not even that long, and it's at the University Catholic Center. And you can get a little taste of what a Catholic mass is like.
It was an invitation. See,
Yeah,
just an invitation.
and he took me, and I had so many questions, because I was like, oh, what are the wafers doing? He's like, well, that's actually the Eucharist. We believe this and this. And then from there, he took me to another Catholic church. And this was a more, this was not just the University Catholic Center. This was a Catholic church. And, was big and beautiful. No music, just a solemn mass. And I was very, very impressed. Everybody knew what to do. They knew when to kneel, when to stand. I kind of remember a couple of times doing that when I was real little, before my mom, really got into the witness things. Like there was a few times where my family thought, okay, yeah, we're all here together. We need to go to mass, and we'd all hold hands or in the Our Father or something like that. There were some things that were kind of coming back to me.
Yeah, that's what happened to me too when I was coming back into the churches. I sort of remember times, I'd be in the pews with my dad, and I remember one time I was loving singing so much. I was like 7 or 8 that the congregation was stopping after verse 2, and then verse 3 came, and I was still belting it out. So yeah, those memories start coming back. Those seeds that were planted. So you're exploring Catholicism. Was Glenn exploring it at the time as well?
Um, sort of. Well, I mean, cause so you're talking about him. He's Anglo Catholic, and I guess for him, I'm not really sure. Like he was just really him and I were just kind of hashing out basic theology at the time.
Yeah.
So what my turning point was actually doubting Thomas, and I remember Glenn telling me because we would have arguments, like just hashing things out, and I'm like, well,
Hmm.
that's not true. This is what I've been taught, and he says, well, yeah, but that's actually not correct. And so there was the doubting Thomas thing, and because the witnesses believe that that wasn't actually Christ's body that was resurrected. That was like a projection,
Oh
and
wow.
yeah, and so he said, well, Paul said that if that's not his body, and I was like, wait, hold on, wait a minute. That's not really Christ's body. And he said, no, yeah, it is. Because if it wasn't, then everything we're doing is for nothing.
Right.
And I was like, oh, that makes sense. And so I remember actually going back to ask one of the elders in the Kingdom Hall, and I said, wait, so what do we believe about this again? And he said, it's kind of like a hologram, like Star
Like
Trek.
Star Wars. Yeah.
Yeah, like Star Wars.
Why? So it's like, why is that? Why is it so weird to believe it was his body, yet it's not weird to think it was like a hologram or something? You
I,
know?
I yeah, I have no idea. Well, it was never it never came to the forefront of my head until then. Because
Yeah.
like why they call him Doubting Thomas? I'd never heard Doubting Thomas before, and I was like, oh, I guess that makes sense. And then that was the thing that said, okay, that's when I really need to turn.
Yeah, because in that verse it literally says he puts his finger into his side. I don't know how you explain that as something other than his body, but your guys' journey makes me think of the road to Emmaus because there's two disciples just pursuing truth and this dialogue with Christ there with them, and you and Glenn were like that. And many believe that the two disciples on the road to Emmaus actually were a married couple. Um,
Hmm.
that's what many believe. So it's just neat how God brought you two together at the right time as you guys were on this journey, albeit in different places, but you came together to converge and come into the faith. Maybe we can fast forward to there. Um, how did that part happen where you guys started to really say, "Love to hear your side"? Oh my gosh, I think we should become Catholic.
Yeah, well, okay, so it was fast forward all the way to Victoria. We're married and everything, and he was at his job, and it was just a hunger for something more, really. Like we knew that we didn't want to raise our kids Methodist. It just, I guess him coming from the Anglican faith where their services are really high church and
Yeah,
all this stuff, and me coming from, he was coming from here and I was coming from all the way down here.
yeah,
And so, we knew that, we tried Presbyterian and there were some things we couldn't quite get past, but we loved the music and we just loved their reverence for it. But that wasn't quite melding, and so we were here in Victoria and we're like, well, what place do we see where they both have, a reverence for liturgy? They both have, and just um, good liturgy at that,
hmm,
like the proper liturgy, and just different things like that. We just wanted more.
hmm,
And so that's when, like he kind of talked about he got roped into to play at Our Lady of Victory with Father Christopher. And I remember him coming home and he said, yeah, they have a really young priest and he seems to have it, he's pretty with it.
yeah,
And try. And for me, I was like, we need to meet in the middle, but not Catholicism. Like it was so hard for me
yeah.
think of me raising our children as Catholic.
Hmm.
Because it was, all my life, it was like, that's the
You were
Antichrist.
running from that, yeah,
Yeah,
and now,
running. But then I remember Glenn played, and he mentioned this too. He played for Good Friday or something. And that was when it opened the door for me because I remember walking up to the loft, and we came a little bit late because I was getting I was getting James ready and everything, and Thomas was no, I don't think Thomas was born. I think was pregnant with Thomas.
Excuse me, your son's name is Thomas too? Is that because of the Doubting Thomas? Was that
Oh,
connected?
yeah. Well, is
That's
it?
really cool.
It is. Yeah, I can't remember, but yeah, yeah.
Wow.
But oh no, actually it's not. No, it's not. He's I named him because I really at the time I felt really drawn to St. Thomas More, and
Okay.
he was yeah, and so I felt like to
Well,
dedicate.
someone that pursued the truth no matter what, and that's what your guys' journey was about.
Yes,
Coming to
exactly.
the faith.
Family too. So
Yeah.
yeah, and so there was that. Oh, so Good Friday. I was there with my little boy, and we're walking up to the loft, and I didn't want to go bother my husband in the loft, so we went into the cry room. And I remember looking, and from the cry room, you can't really
You can,
see
yeah.
very. Yeah, you can see everything, but you can't see faces too well.
Hmm.
And so it was the part where Father Christopher was in the middle, and then there were the two lectors, and they were reading the gospel, the Passion.
Yeah.
And I had never heard anything like that before.
It is beautiful. That's why it's the Triduum. Folks, if you have not done an entire Triduum, you need to do it. Go to Good Friday, Holy Thursday, Good Friday, and the Easter Vigil. You need to experience that because it is the liturgical high point of the church. So that's funny because I know from Glenn's story, we talked about you guys came in too, must have been the following year maybe, or a year after that. You guys came in around the Triduum. So the liturgy and you guys with the music, it's what was beckoning you in: music, liturgy, worship. And then here you are before coming in during the Triduum. The Triduum's the part that got your attention on that Good Friday.
Yes, yes. And because I remember looking down at Father Christopher talking, and
Yeah.
just feeling like overwhelming love.
Yeah.
Wow, I love what's going on here. It was so powerful. I was almost crying.
Yeah.
I just it was so powerful for me to hear him read that. Never met the man before in my life. Had no idea who he was. Only hearsay. Couldn't even see him very well. But I just loved what was going on. And it was overwhelming to me. And so I was like, this is where we need to be.
Yeah, funny is that my mother actually, when I was growing up, we were going on and off, but I do recall her taking me to that same liturgy one year. Or it might have been Palm Sunday, because that's another beautiful one, is Palm Sunday.
Oh, yes.
But these liturgical high points, oof, they really can plant seeds because they point to something beyond. You're not at just a normal church service or whatever, that's something more meaningful than just I don't know, a run-of-the-mill church service at some church somewhere. When you're at a Catholic liturgy, and especially a very sacred one, a very special one, something special is happening.
Exactly. Exactly.
So you came in, the whole family came in after that. It's quite a journey you've had, Ashley. Thank you for sharing those. What are some of the highlights from that moment then to the actual coming into the faith?
RCIA.
Yeah. Yeah. RCIA is awesome.
Yes, yes, and Father Christopher was leading it, and Sister Donna was helping out and everything like that.
All right.
And I got to finally like going back
Ask
to
all your questions, and Father
ask
Christopher is the
all.
perfect person to answer those patiently with humor. He's the right person you want in that kind of situation.
Yes, exactly. And this time they were answered.
Yeah. There you
And
go.
yeah, so
Well, bringing it full circle, because he was the web chat last week. He grew up in a church that was great, especially for kids, and he was well formed from an early age and just never left. So back to where we talked earlier in this conversation, gosh, what if you had had an awesome catechist experience at age 5? Maybe you wouldn't have had to go through all that. Everything happens for a reason, though, and thank God that it did. But it's just the importance of, let's do a great job with the littlest ones, so they never drift. It will save them some gray hairs, if they come back later. But such a beautiful story, Ashley.
thank you.
So great to hear it.
Thank
Just
you. Yeah, I mean, it's not over yet. I mean, there's still obviously
Right.
lots to learn, and
So much. Never
um,
stops.
yeah. So it's just really exciting to be in a place where, yeah, there's more you can explore and just,
But there's that peace because you're like, yeah, I'm home now. I
yes.
can always learn more, but I found the right bus home to heaven, if you will. This is where I
Yeah.
need to be hanging out now. Why look
Thanks.
anywhere else?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Ashley, a final question for you is what would you tell anyone on the fence about Catholicism? Maybe even some of your Jehovah's Witnesses friends who would be on the fence about Catholicism. What would you say about the Catholic Church?
That's a good question. I would say don't be afraid to try.
Hmm.
There were a lot of times where I was just afraid to even walk in, and with reason, of course. But don't be afraid to try. Don't be afraid to ask questions, because you're going to find somebody who's going to answer them, and you're going to find somebody who's going to be supportive in that journey, and no matter where you are,
Yeah.
and because there's that priest out there, or there's that religious sister, or
Hmm. Ask, seek, knock. That's what our Lord says. Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open. Your stories made me think back to my own journey. And there was a time where I was quasi Catholic again. I was going to this Catholic church, but I had a lot of questions about the faith. I knew I wanted to follow Christ, but there's this one guy who, and you're not going to get when your prayer is answered. It's oftentimes in a different way than you expect. And I really wanted just to find awesome group of young adult Catholics to walk with. I didn't get exactly what I wanted, but there was one guy God brought in my life who had gone through reverting back into the church, and just his presence. I saw this guy up on the altar sponsoring candidates. He was leading a young adult group. He was even on the radio talking about the faith sometimes. So I agree with what you said, that if you don't be afraid, and if you're just pursuing God in truth and say, God, please reveal yourself, pay attention. He's going to give you those cookie crumbs, if you will, to get all the way back to the main feast eventually. So,
yes, and don't stop, right? I mean, not stopping also.
absolutely. Well, Ashley, you don't have to do this if you don't want to, but I'm going to make a request. We usually ask the interviewee to close with a prayer. Would you sing a little bit of the Ave Maria to close us out?
Sure. Oh, okay. Sure,
All
sure.
right.
All right, in the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Ave Maria, gratia plena, Maria, gratia plena, Maria, gratia